योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
Good morning to one and all. This is Dr. Sonal from Indian Institute of Teacher Education. Today I am here to discuss the topic on pedagogies that are useful in commerce and management. Before I begin the topic, let me take the opportunity to thank UGC HRDC Gujarat University for inviting me as a resource person in this SAID online refresher course of commerce and management. Uh, I would grab this opportunity to thank Dr. Jagdish Joshi ji, who himself is a quite dynamic and innovative person who's changing the face of HRDC Gujarat University. A big applause for the whole staff of HRDC Gujarat University who are working vigorously in the recent changing times and providing ample of blended learning modes courses which might be very useful for teaching as well as non-teaching staff of universities. I would also like to thank Dr. Mamta Brahmbhatji, the coordinator of the SAID online refresher course, who put trust on me and invited me as a resource person for this. Well, friends, let us begin with the topic. Today, as I told you, that we will be talking upon innovative pedagogies that are useful in commerce and management. The name of the topic that we have given is Innovative Teaching Strategies uh, of 21st century. Let me share my screen first. Yeah. So today we'll be discussing about pedagogy of 21st century, innovative teaching approaches. Before we talk about innovative teaching methods, let us just have a recall of traditional teaching methods that we have always been teaching. The traditional chalk and talk method of teaching that has been persisted for hundreds of years. And we are all used to that. But if we talk about today, today's requirement of student is different. Today we require students wherein holistic development of students can be possible, wherein we can give them great opportunities for developing his creativity, using his skills, and not only acquiring knowledge. और उसके कारण ये हुआ है that the traditional chalk and talk method of teaching is now acquiring inferior results when compared with the more modern and revolutionary teaching methods that are available for use today. Right? The demand for today is that there has to be greater student interaction. The boundaries of authority are being broken down. It's all coming upon decentralization वाला एक atmosphere develop करना जिसमें there's not one leader but everybody is putting their inputs and making a success story. And focus on enjoyment over grades is emphasized. अभी तक क्या था एक दौड़ लगी हुई है फर्स्ट सेकेंड थर्ड ग्रेड की राइट एंड नाउ the things that we take is different. There are individual differences among students and each student is not bestowed with only academic, right? They are bestowed with different skills. So, so now only the grades run competition is stopped. उसकी जगह पे enjoyment over grades is emphasized. Now, to achieve all this, traditional techniques which used to use repetition, memorization of information, right? But they were not developing critical thinking, problem solving, decision making skills of the student. And hence, there is a requirement for modern learning methods in which students collaborate and therefore be more productive. ठीक है, तो अभी बात ये हो रही है, very good quote which I came across to was, as with most things, it's all about balance. We need to understand when a traditional method works best and when the modern approaches work best. We are not here to criticize traditional teaching method, but here we need to see what are the limitations of traditional teaching methods, wherein innovative teaching methods can be replaced, and there has to be balance in our pedagogies when we are delivering the content to the students. और इसलिए ज़रूरत पड़ती है इनोवेटिव टीचिंग मेथड्स की. Let us begin with the first very innovative teaching method. नाम तो सुना ही होगा आप लोगों ने. It is about flipped classroom. As the name suggests, it is flipped classroom. Now, what is flipped classroom? Flipped classroom is a pedagogical approach in which the traditional elements of the lessons taught by the teacher are reversed. The primary educational materials are studied by the students at home and then worked in the classroom. See, the name itself says it is flipped classroom. Flipped classroom में ट्रेडिशनल क्लासरूम से अलग बात होती है. In traditional classroom, we teach and then provide the content or educational material to the students. But what happens in the flipped classroom is that in flipped classroom, the educational materials are given beforehand to the students. The students study those educational materials at home and then they work on those materials in the projection in under the guidance of the teacher, where teacher is only acting as a facilitator and that work is done in the classroom. The main objective of flipped classroom, this methodology is to optimize time in class. क्लास में ज़्यादा टाइम मिले बच्चों को by dedicating it to meet the special needs of each individual student, develop cooperative projects or work on specific tasks. When they are already reviewing the educational material at home and then when they are coming to the classroom, flipped classroom concentrates on meeting the special needs of each individual student, developing cooperative projects, team spirit में projects करवाना, and work also on specific tasks. So this becomes the main objective of flipped classroom. Let us see the features of flipped classroom one by one to understand it better. The first feature of flipped classroom is turning the classroom model. Yes, as the name suggests, outside the class, students watch video, other multimedia materials, whatever is suggested by the teacher, whatever links are suggested by the teacher, whatever educational materials are provided by the teacher, maybe in Word document, maybe in YouTube's, maybe on any site, anything. So that all things are done outside the classroom. Then what is done inside the classroom? In class, students work through what they watched, doing activities, participating in discussions, asking the teacher questions to help them understand the concepts taught. So, actually, what we say is the follow up of teaching is done more in the class. Outside class, the students are डूइंग their homework, जिसको हम होमवर्क अभी तक कहते आए थे. So that is not homework actually, but they review each and everything that is provided by the teacher, and in the class the discussions are held on, and the teachers, and they ask questions to the teachers. One of the key elements in the teacher's ability to provide just in time advice and correct logical fallacies before they take hold. Here the teacher, even on the part of the teacher has to be very quick when it comes to solving the queries in the classroom. So even teacher has to be more prepared compared to traditional classroom. She has to be more logical in providing the guidance and the advice and the answers which the students require. The second very important feature of this methodology is optimum use of in-class time. Yes, this is somewhere the extension of what we discussed in the first point. Here, the ability to move some of the rote skill based instruction out of the classroom becomes possible, right? रॉट लर्निंग को कहीं रोक देते हैं हम, और इन क्लास टाइम को हम यूज करते हैं स्किल बेस्ड इंस्ट्रक्शन के लिए. Let us take an example in an accounts class. In an accounts class, teachers can have students use rules, specimen, numerical abilities to build skills. And the class time can be used for higher level activities as posting entries, conceptual video watching, etc. तो जब हम रूल्स स्पेसिमेन की बातें करनी होती अकाउंट्स में, वो सारी चीज़ें हम उन्हें घर से करवा सकते हैं. दे कैन ऑलवेज सी दैट न्यूमेरिकल एबिलिटीज टू बिल्ड स्किल्स, उनकी न्यूमेरिकल एबिलिटीज को एनहांस करने के लिए वी कैन गिव देम वीडियो लिंक्स. But when they are into the class, we are only talking about posting entries, posting complicated entries, posting developmental entries, how to do the finalization of the things, and how these particular entries can be linked further in accounts. तो ये सारी बातें हम इन क्लास टाइम में यूज कर सकते हैं. Resources for flipped classroom. Yes, very important, as I told you before also, that flipped classroom will not work only with the educational material provided in the Microsoft Doc or email to the students or shared with them into the Google Classroom. We will have to find, as a teacher, we will have to find many resources for instructional videos that are available for flipped classroom. So one can find high quality materials on YouTube, education focused sites, as I told you before also, like Nomia or Neo K12. For accountancy, 12th standard FI, SY, Neo K12 can be useful. Many of the textbooks we are already using come with multimedia materials. जो आजकल शो, I mean, you see the GCERT textbooks, you see the NCERT textbooks, they are all coming with multimedia material. So we can use such district or schools educational goals in which are already defined. तो उस तरह की टेक्स्ट बुक्स को, जो मल्टीमीडिया मटेरियल्स है, उसको हम यूज कर सकते हैं एज अ टीचर. And classroom technology system also include carefully vetted and instructionally appropriately material students can use both in class and out. Let us take one example in management. How can management teachers flip their classroom? Management teachers can flip their classroom by using digital lessons to instruct students, allowing them to practice skills at home, allowing them use their personal devices before classroom discussion, and then further using class time for whole group or small group activities. That reinforcement can be given to management related thinking. Similarly, in business organization, teachers can flip their classrooms by exposing the students to the possibilities for fun in class projects. So give them opportunities to participate in more business related projects in action, right? Giving them experiences which they couldn't have in a traditional classroom, like seeing videos of Amazon working or perhaps Google working. ये सारी वीडियोस आप उनके साथ शेयर कर सकते हो, एंड देन अकॉर्डिंग टू द चैप्टर एंड द टॉपिक्स यू कैन मूव ऑन विद द थियरी पार्ट, एंड thus the chapter can be closed in class through discussions. So these are the few features how flipped classroom can help us. Let us see flipped classroom model. Outside the class, components traditionally delivered in class, such as lectures, are delivered outside the class via web based materials like videos, demonstrations, tutorials, simulation, and games. In class, in class time is used for deeper engagement with content, with instruction projects, which provides guidance through collaborative projects, individual and group problem solving, and peer based learning activities. And the benefit of this is it provides faculty with more time in class to work with individual students, and it allows students to master content at their own pace. Very important. This we will discuss more thoroughly when we come to the advantages of this model. So, what happens is outside the class, inside the class, the activities are combined, and the benefit of flipped classroom can be made. Let us see how flipped class design processes. Yes, for this, let me talk about Bloom's taxonomy. I suppose many of you might be knowing about Bloom's taxonomy. Let me just a 2 minute uh, talk can be delivered on Bloom's taxonomy before I begin with flipped class design process. Bloom's taxonomy means it's a taxonomy given by Benjamin Bloom that how does a learning activity takes place in the classroom. It is like that. First of all, the first step of any teacher is to provide knowledge to the students. As soon as the knowledge step is over, combinedly या उसी के साथ साथ parallelly becomes understanding. You know, when the student is acquiring knowledge about any new learning material, उसी के साथ साथ his understanding level has to be concentrated upon. And when understanding is done, knowledge and understanding together will help the students to apply the knowledge in the new fields. So application becomes important, right? And then उसी के साथ साथ the polishing of skill, the polishing of the development of the attitude of the student becomes important. These are the first 5 steps which any teacher has to keep in mind while she is teaching. Now, when we are doing a traditional teaching, at that time, what happens is we concentrate upon knowledge, we concentrate upon understanding, but the student, very rarely, the student will have the advantage of having application done. And even if they do, there'll be still a less advantage of student having use of skill tool. That is all happening in traditional classroom because the teacher does not find time to develop all these into one in-class lecture, into one in-class session for a particular topic. But if we talk about flipped classroom, how it happens? See, outside the class, we are catering the objectives of remembering, that is knowledge, understand and apply. ये तीनों objectives actually achieve हो जाते हैं outside of the classroom activities में, where the content is selected, the delivery method, the creative or finding the content, ये सारी चीजें teacher कर रही है for the activities that are to be done outside of the classroom, right? And because of this, the students acquire knowledge, they understand the things, they apply the things. And now, when we are taking them back to the classroom with all these preparation, they are ready to analyze the content, they are ready to evaluate the content, and further, they are also ready in many cases to create a new content or perhaps create content in their own style. So, these objectives can be achieved while in class activities are done, in which a teacher is coaching the student, selecting any activity, assessing the student. So, see, the learning outcomes in one flipped classroom are actually doubled when compared to traditional classroom. Again, they are not only doubled, but they are here concentrating upon students' participation more rather than teachers' intervention. The teacher is not here to teach, the teacher is here only to guide, and the student are learning on their own. वो अपने टाइम में उसको जितना समय में लेना है वो ले सकता है फॉर outclass activities. So he is learning at his own pace. And when it is in class, again, it's a discussion where the teacher finds time to solve each and every problem, each and every query of the student, of every student actually. Right? So, this way the flipped class design process goes. Let us see few examples. There are several ways faculty can flip the class utilizing textbooks that have an online component. As we talked about, GCRT and CRT textbooks are available. We can also talk about few reference books. In our cases, for graduate and postgraduate students, few reference books which have online component through which we can give them various links of reading material or perhaps even the videos. Then recording lectures ahead of the class meetings using lecture capture software. Yeah. So the teacher can record lectures also ahead of the class meetings if enough material is not available, or in case the material according to the teacher's perspective and explanation can be made more easy. ऐसी स्थिति में ऐसे केस में the teacher can record lectures ahead of the class meetings, and she can share her own examples in this, her own explanation in this, और उसके बाद in class activity and in class meeting a follow up classroom can be done. Sprinkle in questions and then take regular lecture. Yes, one more thing is, if the teacher does not want to record a lecture, still one more option is that the teacher can record only the questions which she can sprinkle upon to the thought provoking process of the students. When she's sharing the content in the videos, along with that, she can sprinkle the questions and then take a regular lecture. So, this is how a flipped classroom can. These are the few examples. We can use our various modes and ways how to flip the classroom. A few helpful tips which I would like to share with you in flipping of the classroom is, one does not need to completely flip our classroom. Yes, please understand this point very clearly. जरूरी नहीं है कि हम एक पूरे चैप्टर के लिए क्लासरूम को फ्लिप करें. We can use this flipped classroom methodology for particular topic of our chapter, for particular lesson of our chapter, for particular chapter of our syllabus. So we need to find out as a teacher that which is the topic or which is the chapter in which this methodology can completely suit the best, and then we can flip our classroom on that particular topic. Keep the length of each video under 5 minutes. Very essential thing is, it says that even video watching might disturb the concentration after 5 minutes. This is what the researchers show. So it is always recommended to keep the length of each video link under 5 minutes, right? Then portion of the video. Yes, if you want to show the portion of the video, you can use a tube chop to just select the portion of the video for the students to watch from YouTube. They do not have to watch the whole video from the YouTube. You can select it and just show the portion which is necessary for that particular content. Ask the students to respond to 2 to 6 questions after watching a video. Yes, after video, it is very essential that the student is responding to questions. So make a module of a flipped classroom in that a way that you are sprinkling few questions for the students after watching the video. Next tip, very important, is keeping in mind how much time you're asking students to spend watching video, responding to questions, and completing other work outside of the classroom. You should not overburden the student with that. Daily in tips you need to decide कि आप कितना टाइम उनको outside classroom देना चाहते हैं and what is feasible. So accordingly that can be done. These are the few helpful tips which might help you for designing a module in flipped classroom. Let us see few advantages of flipped classroom. Students are co-responsible for their own learning. Yes, very important. I have seen professors of universities, teachers of the school complaining that the management asks the teachers when the academic results of the students are low. There are many factors for weak academic results in the classroom, but but the perspective of the management is that one of the factor might be a teacher. In such cases, why this happens? Because because we always follow traditional method. We lecture, the pace of the students is different. There are individual differences among students, and hence he learns at his own pace. और उसमें ऐसा होता है कि कुछ बच्चे बहुत जल्दी ग्रैब करते हैं and कुछ students will not grab, or perhaps their capacity grabbing capacity is less, their grasping capacity is less. But when we talk about flipped classroom, because we are giving all outside classroom activities, also the students are co-responsible for their own learning. If they're not doing it, there is always a responsible factor saying that the students are not working and hence their academic results are less. The rise of ICT tools in the classroom, with which new generation enjoy a high level of familiarity, is involved here. Yeah, this is again very important, right? As we all know that today's even children are very much familiar with the use of ICT tools. What to talk about adolescents and the teenagers whom which we are dealing with, right? And they are very much involved with that and they enjoy ICT tools more. So let us make this familiarity of theirs use in the classroom, right? And there is a possibility of using all such tools when it comes to flipped classroom, because of which the things can be quick, the things can be more enjoyable, and the things can be according to the requirement of today's generation. Students determine their own learning pace via the ability to review the material provided by the teacher. Right? They might take one student might take 10 minutes to review the material, and the other student might take an hour. But yes, they are learning and their own learning pace because outside classroom activities are involved. Class time is used for students to think, to reflect about the content. Very limitation, I can say, the worst limitation of traditional teaching method is that we are not allowing students to think. Even if we allow or even if we give them time to think, we are not at all allowing the students to reflect about the content. वो स्कोप हमारे पास रहता ही नहीं है. It might be because of limitation of time. It might be because of limitation of completing the course in time, etc. But yes, flipped classroom will give the teacher the time to give to the students to reflect about the content. Cognitive work is hence enhanced. And when cognitive work is enhanced, the knowledge, the understanding, the application level will automatically be enhanced. Right? It promotes personalized guidance. How? See, content is frequently accompanied by questionnaires. As we discussed before also, that questions should be given. Some interactive exercises can be given to the group of the students after they finish the outside classroom activities, right? Where the teacher is only viewing and they are all discussing, that might be online and offline anyways, or maybe in a blended mode too, right? So because of this, what is happening is, when we as a teacher are observing the students activities, the students discussion, we can very well identify that which students stand out the most, maybe in knowledge, maybe in understanding, and which are the students whom we will as a teacher we require to give more attention, सो हु आर स्ट्रगलिंग स्टूडेंट्स, राइट? तो ये सारी चीज़ें हमें तुरंत पता चल जाती हैं, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट दिस पर्सनलाइज्ड गाइडेंस बिकम्स easy. It provides more freedom to teachers. Yes. How? Teachers from one area can create a joint based material for at home study, right? Which facilitates greater flexibility. Video presentation, podcast, YouTube, आपको जो करना है आप कर सकते हो to reach out to the students, and hence it gives more flexibility to the students. There are a few links which might help you to understand better and to get the material for flipped classroom. Yeah, so this was all about flipped classroom. Let us move to the another innovative pedagogy, which is the content point of today's session, and that is blended learning. Let me please share the screen. Yeah, blended learning. वो था flip वो the first pedagogy that we saw was flipped classroom. ट्रेडिशनल से सारी विपरीत बातें उसमें होती हैं, सारी ऑपोजिट बातें उसमें होती हैं, बट उसके बहुत सारे एडवांटेजेस हैं, which stands to be the limitations of traditional classroom. Now let us see about blended learning. What is blended learning? As the name suggests, it's a blend. लर्निंग का ब्लेंड किया, किस चीज का ब्लेंड किया है ताकि उसका नाम ब्लेंडेड लर्निंग हो? लेट अस सी. Blended learning is a deliberate and effective integration. It's a deliberate, as we all know, एक जानबूझ के करने वाली बात है, एक एफर्ट डालने वाली बात है. हम इसको एफर्टली करते हैं. We blend two things. Which are those two things? We will see together, and we blend it. इफेक्टिव इंटीग्रेशन, उसका इंटीग्रेशन कुछ उस तरह से होता है that it becomes effective, right? Now, which are the components or which are the items of which these integration is done in blended learning? It is about rotation, flex, enhanced virtue, and self blend. Let us see one by one what are these things. Rotation. Rotation, as we all know, like बारी बारी एक चीज का आना, right? Flex. We all know about flex. Enhanced virtue. Which are those virtues of learning which are being enhanced and integrated here? And self blend. हम अपनी ओर से, हम एज अ टीचर, एज एन इंडिविजुअल, व्हाट डू वी blend into in hybrid form to instigate and support learning. We are blending these four items. We'll see the explanation of all these four items one by one in the next slide as we go further. But यहाँ पर समझने की बात ये है that these four components, these four items are blended, are integrated. They are integrated and blended deliberately and effectively in hybrid form, okay, To instigate. What is the objective? The objective is to instigate and support learning. Instigate, as we all know, to initiate for something. जब हम किसी को motivate करते हैं, right? There we use the term instigate. So instigate and support learning. The other names of blended learning are hybrid learning, flexible learning, web enhanced learning, mixed mode instruction. ये सारे नाम हैं blended learning के. The main objective here is to enhance pedagogy richness with easy access to knowledge through social interaction, providing personal attention to students. It is to enhance pedagogy richness. Yes, with easy access to knowledge. Blended learning में we are not only providing knowledge but we are enhancing the pedagogy richness. That is how the content is delivered. उसकी जो एक इफेक्टिविटी है वो हम बढ़ा देते हैं and that term is known as pedagogy richness. And how do we do this? Through social interaction, providing personal attention to students. So, social interaction also is important here, and we are also able to provide personal attention to students. It is cost effective and gives ample ease of revision. It is cost effective. How it is that we will see, and it also gives ample ease of revision. Revision के लिए हमारे पास बहुत time बच जाता है. Let us see it when we are talking about the features of blended learning. Here, students will have the combination of two modes, classroom and online platform. As the name suggests, it is a blend of classroom and online platform. We have all now, from last 2.5 years in the pandemic area, we have all been very much well versed with the online platform tools, right? Again, there are arguments about how online platform has been effective as well as ineffective in its own way, right? But yes, we all should admit that whatever it was, but it was one platform which we were not using it, which we were not paying attention to, and which has helped us into this pandemic era, right? So when I talk about blended learning, we are using online platform also, and we are using our regular classroom also. We will see how. Teachers need to become well versed with both the modes. Very important here is that now teachers will have to be well versed with both the modes. Classroom में कैसे पढ़ाना है, online platform पर कैसे पढ़ाना है. See, there are differences when we talk about how to teach in the classroom. When we are teaching in the classroom, we have our own traditional etiquettes which we have to follow, and we are not worried much about the techniques part in the classroom, right? Perhaps we are not using much of the ICT tools in the classroom also, unless and until it is made compulsory by our managements or higher authorities. But when we talk about online platforms, we are using more of online tools. We are making use of ICT tools. But along with that, it is again very important that a teacher has a good communication, language, control over language. Teacher has to reach out to the students, making use of ICT tools, right? So actually, in blended, all these qualities which are required for a teacher in the classroom and all the qualities that are required in the online platform, ये दोनों चीजों का समन्वय बन जाएगा blended learning. Students can get full experience in using technology. When teacher herself is using, the student on the other hand will also join with the usage of same technology. And hence they get full hands-on experience in using technology. Students can get training in varied life skills. Now, how is this possible in blended learning? When I talk about acquiring life skills in schools, we have to provide different lectures for providing life skills in schools. जब बात हम ग्रेजुएशन या पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन कॉलेजेस की करते हैं तो वहाँ पर भी वी ऑर्गेनाइज वेरियस इवेंट्स वी परहैप्स कॉल एक्सपर्ट्स फॉर डिलीवरिंग लेक्चर्स ऑन लाइफ स्किल्स और उस तरह से हम लाइफ स्किल्स के बारे में बच्चों की जागरूकता बढ़ाते हैं. But when we're talking about blended learning, the teacher herself, while she is in the online platform and classroom, get enough time to train teachers in varied life skills. All-round personality can be targeted because it is not only online, it is not only offline. So as a teacher, we need to make a decision that what are the content points which can be delivered in the classroom, what are the content points which can be delivered on online platform, and keeping all this in mind, a very nice planning can be done wherein all-round personality of the student can be targeted. Students will get wide exposure and new perspectives of course content. Yes, very important. As a teacher, when we are teaching in the classroom, uh, the teacher's perspective becomes the perspective of the student. Why it happens? I'm talking here about most of the students. There might be few who are gifted students and who have their own perspective when a content is presented towards them. But mostly what happens is the teacher's perspective becomes the perspective of the class, right? Because उसके पीछे बहुत reasons है. Because the students hardly get any time to think over the content in the walls of the classroom. But when we are giving him, when we are dealing with him online, when we are giving him again, new material, when we are sharing with him something which he can also go through in his own leisure time, in his own space time, तब ऐसा होगा that he will have his own perspective developed for the course. And hence, we can say that blended learning gives wide exposure and new perspective of course content. Blended learning has human touch. ये बारे में I need not say much because we all have experienced in online learning that yes, the human touch, the teacher-student relationship was less, but it was not gayab. It was there because we could see each other, we could explain each other, right? तो ऑनलाइन में तो कम है पर है और क्लासरूम में तो बहुत है. So ultimately blended learning has human touch. Blended learning provides multicultural and multidimensional approach to teaching learning process. Teaching learning process may, yes, the approach is widened in which there is a scope of multidimension and multiculture. So in all these features of blended learning, perhaps we'll clear more about what is blended learning. Let us see one example. In the subject of economics, our activity as a teacher is students work in groups for projects in economics. ये activity है. तो इसमें very importantly, when this activity is to be conducted by economics teacher for her students in FY class, सबसे पहले क्या करना पड़ता है? सबसे पहले we need to decide that what will be done in face-to-face mode, that is in the classroom, and what will be done in the blended mode. For example, फेस टू फेस मोड में यहाँ पर टीचर एंड स्टूडेंट्स मीट इन द क्लासरूम, कोलैबोरेट एंड वर्क टुगेदर फॉर द प्रोजेक्ट. ठीक है, प्रोजेक्ट लिया, कोलैबोरेट हुए and they're working together. Now when they're working together, what is happening is that they've divided the work. एक टॉपिक है, उसके सब टॉपिक्स डिवाइड किए. सब टॉपिक्स ग्रुप्स में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं हम, और जब वो ग्रुप्स में डिवाइड कर दिए गए हैं, then the work The follow up of all those things can be done on the online platform, right? उसमें क्या कर सकते हैं? Teacher and students can meet in the classroom or perhaps even on online platform. As we all know, channels and messengers, task managers to plan and control the flow of the project. We use various tools for contacting on online platforms like Google Doc, Google Sheets for sharing, collaborating to complete the project. Further, we can prepare, share presentations online made from various apps, webs, etc. Right? And this way, the topic can be done in the subject of economics. Right? So, what is happening here in the classroom? We are just planning, dividing the topic into the groups or individual students, right? Giving them links and resources for it. And then the collaboration part and working together part can be done more or less on online platforms, even after the school hours, even within the school hours, right? Even within the college hours, even after the college hours, even within the contingencies and pandemics, and even without the contingencies and pandemics. So, this way, we can move on for blended learning mode. Let us see the model of blended learning, right? As we have understood till now, as you all would have understood till now, that blended learning is a blend of face to face mode and online. I wonder that after pandemic, अभी हम ऑनलाइन मोड का सहारा लेके अपना कोर्स कंटेंट कंप्लीट कर रहे थे. Gradually, perhaps we will be moving to blended learning, and times will come that we would never see the phase of classroom learning again as it was. Perhaps now the mode of blended learning will become more activate in future, right? So yes, blended में क्या होता है? So your ETA learning factory, जहाँ पर हम बात कर रहे हैं इंटरैक्टिव वर्कशॉप्स, presentations, measuring practical applications. And here on online, we can take various apps का सहारा लेके we can take online ETA from Wikipedia. Simulations can be done, gamification or quizzes can be done, video lessons can be done. राइट. सो ऑनलाइन बहुत सारी चीजें हो सकती हैं, फेस टू फेस में उसका इवैल्यूएशन और मेजरमेंट हो सकता है, इंटरैक्शन हो सकता है. सो दिस वे अ ब्लेंडेड मोड मॉडल कैन वर्क. Let us see the helpful tips for making blended learning successful. Very important is determine the outcomes of the course. जब सबसे पहले कोर्स ईयर आई मीन टू से इज अ टॉपिक. आप जो भी टॉपिक चूज कर रहे हैं सिखाने के लिए, राइट, और परहैप्स वी कैन आल्सो से अ चैप्टर ऑफ वन सब्जेक्ट. डिटरमिन द आउटकम. सबसे पहले उसका आउटकम डिसाइड कर लो कि आप क्या चाहते हैं. इसके बाद व्हाट डू यू वांट योर स्टूडेंट टू बी. For example, if we are taking accounting ratios in accountancy, determine the outcomes of the course. The outcomes of the course for this topic may be that the student learn the calculation of the ratios, the student learn the formulas of the ratios, the student learn how ratios, the interpretation of the ratios, the students learn how important ratios are into companies' final accounts, the students learn how ratios are important for practicability of the अकाउंटेंसी, कंपनी अकाउंटेंसी, राइट. इस तरह की आउटकम्स हो सकते हैं. लाइक आउटकम्स हियर मींस दैट व्हाट डू यू वांट योर स्टूडेंट टू लर्न आफ्टर अ पर्टिकुलर चैप्टर हैज बीन टॉट, आफ्टर अ पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक हैज बीन टॉट, राइट. तो एज अ टीचर व्हेन यू बिगिनिंग फॉर एनी टॉपिक इन अ ब्लेंडेड मोड, सबसे पहले डिटरमिन द आउटकम्स ऑफ द कोर्स, राइट. Integrate them means, as I told you, right, that accounting ratios may say ultimately up knowledge, understanding, application, skill. जो qualities enhance करना चाहते हैं student में, integrate them. Compile a list of resources to support learning. और उसके हिसाब से अकॉर्डिंग टू द आउटकम्स एंड अकॉर्डिंग टू द इंटीग्रेशन दैट यू हैव डन, कंपाइल अ लिस्ट ऑफ रिसोर्सेज टू सपोर्ट लर्निंग। उसके लिए रिसोर्सेज आपको क्या क्या चाहिए? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, हमने फर्स्ट आउटकम यहाँ पे ये लिया था दैट द स्टूडेंट्स लर्न द कैलकुलेशन ऑफ रेशियोज, राइट, लर्न द फॉर्मूलाज ऑफ द रेशियो। तो सबसे पहले आपकी लिस्ट ऑफ रिसोर्सेज में आपको क्या कर रखना पड़ेगा? यू विल हैव टू कीप द फॉर्मूलाज फॉर ईच रेशियो। देन द सेकेंड पॉइंट विल बी द कैलकुलेशन ऑफ दोज रेशियोज। तो कैलकुलेशन का आपको एक फॉर्मूला रखना पड़ेगा दैट हाउ द कैलकुलेशन विल वर्क इन द अकाउंट इन डिफरेंट अकाउंटिंग फॉर्मूलाज, right? So according to the outcome that you have taken, prepare the list of the resources. Now these resources may be again offline, online, right? इसमें गूगल डॉक से लेके गूगल शीट से लेके वीडियो तक की बातें आपके रिसोर्सेज में आ सकती है। The second very important point is here, determine the right blend and level of interactivity. Now see, this is the 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 blending part, the right blend जो word use करा गया है for any topic totally depends upon the teacher. There is no formula that will say that कि एक टॉपिक में से इतनी चीजें blended मोड में लो और इतनी चीजें face to face मोड में लो। No, this totally depends upon the teacher. So how to make a right blend, ये इंपॉर्टेंट है टीचर के लिए, राइट? डिवाइडिंग द टॉपिक, जैसे हम प्रोजेक्ट्स में करते हैं कि हम प्रोजेक्ट्स में या विजिट्स में जब बच्चों को लेकर जाते हैं, वी अलोकेट द ड्यूटीज अकॉर्डिंगली, राइट? Similarly here, when we are dividing a particular topic into subtopics, we need to allocate the subtopics to the students, give them the list of the resources which can support that particular subtopic, right? And then decide कि ऑनलाइन क्या क्या इंटरेक्शंस होंगे, किस लेवल पे होंगे, on what platform we will be using this, and then again in the classroom, is there any need for interaction? So when we are doing all this exercise, that means determining the right blend and level of interaction. Facilitate communication. यस, कम्युनिकेशन प्लेटफॉर्म्स कौन कौन से होंगे, उसका फैसिलिटेशन देखना ऑफ कोर्स टीचर के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है, राइट? एंड क्रिएट एन असेसमेंट प्लान, एंड अल्टीमेटली हाउ आर वी गोइंग टू असेस दिस एक्टिविटी दैट इज डन बाय द स्टूडेंट्स, द प्रेजेंटेशन दैट इज डन बाय द स्टूडेंट्स, उसका एक असेसमेंट प्लान बनाना। So when we are, ready with this as a teacher along with the topic, our blended learning is bound to be a success. What are the positive points of blended learning? Individualized support for students. See, again here that we can heed attention upon each and every student. Students have access to helpful online materials anywhere and at any time, right? At his own time, he can have access to the online materials. Learners can benefit from all the comforts of digital materials. Blended learning provides more interactive educational experience. राइट, इट इज नॉट ओनली अबाउट कि 40 मिनट्स का क्लास है या 60 मिनट्स का क्लास है और उसी क्लास में जितनी बातें हो गई टीचर स्टूडेंट में एंड द चैप्टर गेट्स फिनिश्ड। नो, इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट, राइट? हियर we can have more interaction and more interactive educational experience can be gained. Parents have access to what their children are doing, though that becomes sometimes problematic also for the teachers that we've gone through. But most of the times, it is important that parents can have access to what their children are doing. There is no need of PTM sort of things in schools as such. It gives students significantly more time for learning, right? Because he is planning his own day and learning accordingly. Educators claim that this method shows them how to be better teachers. Researchers have shown us that This method helps teachers to become better teachers and not only students to become better students. So, blended learning itself is one of the very important methods. And as I mentioned to you, that we can foresee, we can envision that the future times are all coming with blended learning mode of teaching. So, let's all enhance our capabilities in our own subjects of blended mode of learning. Uh, Yes. Let us move to a third pedagogy of 21st innovative pedagogies के categories में, and that is gamification. The first we saw was about, oh, so sorry. I just forgot that this is not an interaction session. This is just a video recording. How do I get answers? We teachers are so used to interaction. Yeah. Anyways, the first and the second that we saw was all about flip learning and blended learning. And now the third innovative pedagogy category that we will see today is about gamification. Let us see how gamification, first of all, what is gamification? Gamification is the learning process of adding games or game like elements. The name itself suggests इसमें हम क्या करते हैं, यहाँ पर हम जब लर्निंग टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस होता है, in that we are adding games or game like elements to teaching learning process so as to increase students participation. See, very well, please understand that the 21st century pedagogies will all aim upon students' participation, making students active, making students more and more participatory, right? So, gamification is one such pedagogy which increases students' participation. अब गेम्स और वो भी क्लासरूम में और वो भी टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस में कैसे होती है, लेट अस सी. Gamification involves using game based elements such as point scoring, peer competition, teamwork, scores, digitized gaming, etc. देखो, anything which when is taken through quiz and the point scoring thing is done, right? It increases peer competition. It increases teamwork also if it is done into team. The scores are heeded attention. Digitized gaming बच्चे करना सीखते हैं and they enjoy learning through gamification. The main objective of this methodology is to drive students' engagement. Students become more and more engaging, more and more participatory. And how? By helping them assimilate new information in playway method and test their knowledge. इस method को कहा जाता है, it's one of the kinds of playway method, right? It is not a method, a serious method like lecture or narration, but it is something which comes under the category of playway method, in which the students assimilate new information and yes, through gamification, their knowledge is tested. Let us see the features of gamification to understand it better. Giving points for meeting academic objectives. Right. So, whenever the academic objectives where the students are met upon, the teacher can give points. You know, answers and its level of logic के base पे दे सकते हैं. Depth of conceptual clarity के base पे दे सकते हैं. Structure of answers के बारे में दे सकते हैं. Yes, let me make here very clear that we are not giving points for the correct answer. No, as we are doing it at present. ठीक है, MCQs में हम mostly क्या करते हैं, correct answer and we are giving them points. Here we are talking about meeting academic objectives, but this includes answers, they give their answers along with the level of logic for it. तो उस लेवल ऑफ लॉजिक के हिसाब से हम पॉइंट देंगे. डेप्थ ऑफ कंसेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी, राइट. सो कंसेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी के आप क्वेश्चंस रख रहे हो एज अ टीचर, एंड विथ व्हाट डेप्थ दे कैन आंसर, उस बेस पे वी गिव देम पॉइंट्स. Structure of answers, right? If it is not MCQ but a short answer type, then how have they structured it upon, उस structure को हम points देंगे. Okay. Then giving points for meeting procedural non-academic objectives. Now this is all about academic, but if we talk about non-academic, right, तो non-academic task उन्होंने जो किए हैं उसके लिए भी उन्हें points दीजिए, because here again we are talking about their holistic development. तो अगर बच्चे ने student ने, maybe a graduate student, maybe a postgraduate student, but you know they are involved into helping their seniors out, helping their juniors out, tidying the classroom, putting on the uniform very properly, lining up in register order in the correct houses. House forms आजकल बनाए जाते हैं to enhance the leadership qualities among the students. Even at university level now this has begun into foreign universities. तो जब ये सारी चीजें हो रही हैं तो उसके भी पॉइंट्स दीजिए स्टूडेंट्स को. क्रिएटिंग प्लेफुल बैरियर्स, यस. सो खेल है, गेम्स है, उसमें बैरियर्स भी होंगे, राइट. So use of encouragement mechanics through presenting playful barriers. Now these playful barriers may be academical, behavioral, social, private, creative, logistically, anything. Creating competition within the classroom. Now develop a healthy classroom atmosphere where peer competition, classroom competition can be created with classmates, with other classes, or even with the teacher at times, right. इसमें ये हो सकता है that students must follow a rule that a teacher sets, and any time a student follows the rule, the class gets a point, right. So even their behavior can be changed along with that. The discipline of the class can be maintained with that. ठीक है. अगर जो क्लास जीतता है उसे एक छोटा सा रिवॉर्ड, एक सस्टेनेबल रिवॉर्ड दिया जा सकता है. दैट कैन बी अ मटेरियल रिवॉर्ड, दैट कैन बी एन इमटेरियल रिवॉर्ड इवन, राइट. That can be a responsibility which is important to be given, and you are giving into a playway method. So all such things can be done in gamification. Let us see example. One game, it is Medieval Swansea. You type the name Medieval Swansea into Google and you would come to know that how this game works. It's a highly interactive game. Learners take up the role of a detective to solve any old mystery, right. The game can be played on all digital devices. The underpinning ideas of the game include various scenarios, character witnesses, narrative stages, including progression. This helps learner to follow their progress and to know what is left to be done. Every stage puts learners to new challenges and provides them with instant feedback. The better they perform, the better they can move on the game. You know, I hope you have understood that what is game. Because we are on the video session and not interactive, otherwise we would have played this game. This game can very well be played in the subjects like English, in the subjects, I'm talking about English literature, in the subjects like business organization, when we are talking about the topics like transportation or perhaps warehousing, or perhaps when we're dealing with the history of business organization, such games can be played. One such other game is Brainscape. You can also refer this and Google it out. It's again a simple learning oriented game. It helps the learners to create exceptional flashcards to make their learning capabilities, right. So in such a way that they learn the idea in the most comprehensive manner, leaving out the ones they already know. Since learners usually forget almost 90% of the material while studying, Brainscape overcome this issue with such smart flashcards. So what we can do is teachers and students can create flashcards for a particular subject, and we can play on this game with our students. This can be applied to all the topics, all the subjects in education, right? I would always suggest you that please play on this game, Google them out, and have a better practical understanding of these games. These were only the names of two games. There are many such games. Once you get into this gamification, you would be surprised that there are many such games in which the students and teachers can do learning with fun, can carry on teaching learning process with fun. Helpful tips for gamification. Award students with badges. I would always suggest that whenever student is winning points, right, award him with badges. Because when a student puts a particular badge on his uniform or a particular badge on his cap, or even a particular badge on his formal clothes, that gives him the sense of pride, the sense of responsibility. So, award students with badges. Integrate educational video games into your curriculum. Syllabus, I can understand, it is not in our hands as a teacher, but curriculum designing of our subject is in our hands. So, as a teacher, as a subject teacher, let us integrate educational video games into our curriculum. Implement a class-wide reward system. Right? A class-wide reward system, if you are implementing, each and every student of the class might be of 35 or the class might be of 72 or 100. But you can include each and every student of the class. And each and every student will feel that you are giving an individual attention to them. Gamify homework to encourage informal learning. Most of the teachers have complaints that the students do not do homework in schools. Most of the teachers in universities have complained that how to give homework to such students who are in higher education. Well, let us gamify the homework, and this will encourage informal learning. And when informal learning is encouraged, friends, when the learning becomes formal and informal, the learning gets imbibed into our day to day activities. और फिर ऐसा होता है कि learning it becomes an indispensable part of our living, and we are learning each and every moment. So it's very important that we have informal learning imbibed, right? और उसके लिए एक बहुत अच्छा टूल है that gamify the homework. Create a digital customizable classroom management system built on role playing things, right? You can help students to role play the particular theme, and then this can be digitally managed in classroom. It can be customized managed in the classroom, and help students again to learn with fun and learn with responsibility also. Let us see the advantages of gamification. Students feel like they have ownership over the learning because they are so much involved into learning. They are not dependent on teacher for learning. They are involved in learning, and hence this ownership wali baat aa jati hai. A more relaxed atmosphere in regards to failure, since learners can simply try again. Game में तो क्या है? As sportsman spirit can be developed, similarly game spirit can be developed. So there'll be very less stress among the students when even they fail. It's a relaxed atmosphere because learners can simply try again. More fun in the classroom. Learning becomes visible through progress indicators. Yes, because as and on each and every second you get an indicator of your progression, and hence learning becomes visible directly to the students. Students may uncover an intrinsic motivation for learning, right? देखो, जब हम बात मोटिवेशन की करते हैं, एक्सट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन में बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं, द रिजल्ट्स, द रैंक्स, the promotion of the students, perhaps the scholarship of the student is also an extrinsic motivation. But when we talk about intrinsic motivation, it's very tough for a teacher to develop intrinsic motivation within the student. Yes, but when the student himself is involved into the gamification, this itself turns as intrinsic motivation for learning. Students can explore different identities through different avatars or characters, right? तो वो जो झिझक बच्चों में होती है to come on the stage and do something, but yes, if it is done with gamification, they would do it. As we have seen, there are many students who would do wonders in backstage, so for them this becomes very important. Students often are more comfortable in gaming environments, so are more proactive and open to of making mistakes, right? Higher engagement and concentration levels among the students because it's all learning with fun. So they would never get bored. तो ऐसा नहीं होगा कि 1 घंटे के बाद वो बोर हो गए, 40 minutes के बाद वो बोर हो गए, because it's game. It can be stretched over for more than 2 hours at one go. The opportunity to think outside of the box you're giving to the students. Tasks are no longer just about filling in the worksheet. No, it's all gamified consequences, and hence it makes students more active, more fun loving, more interactive. So today, friends, we have discussed about three important innovative pedagogies that can help teachers to remold the teaching learning process in their own subjects. Hope you would be able to take advantage of all these learning pedagogies. If you have any problem and if there are any queries, you may reach me out at my email address is tharejasonal@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being such a patient listener. Thank you, everyone, all the audience over there. And thank you, UGC HRDC Gujarat University, once again. Thank you.